Then I can install this thin head gasket. We sheared a flywheel key. Drove it in the shed, and now I'm looking down. My dipstick is gone. Hey guys, you're on Southern Minnesota TV. This is my mini bike, and it is super fast. It has a lot of performance parts, but we're going to be making it even faster in today's video, and hopefully hit 60 miles an hour with a torque converter on a mini bike. So that's quite the feat to do. Let's get to it. Now first, let me clean off my bench so I can show you all the performance parts we're going to be putting on this mini bike. There's all the parts I'm going to be putting on the mini bike. Lots and lots of parts. Some of it's from Amazon, some of it's from Go Power Sports. Most links will be down in the description below. I'll try and put links to everything here. So then I'll just quick run through it. The most expensive part of this build is just the billet connecting rod. That's a cheap Chinese one. It's not an ARC or anything. So we'll see how that Chinese part does. And then we have a ceramic coated flat top piston, a clear valve cover, really excited about that, 26-pound valve springs, 1.3 ratio rockers. Those are retainers. These are the rockers. Head studs, flywheel ignition key, cut to length push rods, top plate to mount a fuel pump. Then we're going to be running some blue gas line and some red gas line with some crankcase to valve cover vents. Really sweet tank, got from Amazon, real cheap. This is a magnetic dipstick. And then we might change the gearing to help us get higher RPMs to reach that 60 mile an hour mark. This bike already has an aluminum flywheel, a 26 millimeter PWK carburetor, a header pipe, a hot 265 cam, a thin head gasket, and a 14cc head ported and polished. So since I have so much stuff to put on, we better just get started and make this bike really sweet. So we're simply going to start with just taking the engine out to take it apart and add the billet rod and piston. There it is. Engine is off the bike, and we're ready to just pretty much tear it down to the bare block. Pretty much everything's coming off this thing.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yeah, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Before I spend too much time cleaning the inside of this, all that stuff out, I want to drill that hole in the middle down there. I want to drill that bigger for more oil flow. So that way the metal shavings will be down here when I clean it out the first time. I won't have to clean it out twice. And also a tech tip is take both the drain plugs out, because there's material in there, and if you don't clean that out, you'll have more stuff in the new oil with your new parts. So just a tech tip. Also, you should check your crank bearings. Mine feel good. Just make sure those are good before you reassemble it. Okay, so one last thing I'm gonna do before
I start cleaning up the crankcase and side cover, I'm gonna drill holes and tap them for this fitting here to have a crankcase vent to the valve cover. So that's what I'm gonna be doing. Put those metal shavings in the side cover before I clean it out. That way I'm just not cleaning stuff twice. So the idea is to take this threaded barbed fitting, drill hole there, tap them both so that thread's in there, and then this will have a hose on it going to the valve cover. And that'll, when the piston comes down, it increases the air pressure in the crankcase. That'll let that vent out, and then it creates a vacuum in the valve cover when it goes down, so then that air can flow back and forth, because when the piston goes up, it reverses that pressure. So that's what that'll help with. That'll increase horsepower by just the slightest bit, not really noticeable. But I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna get drilling some holes.
No, man, I still go.
So here's the final product for the side cover. Have some RTV on there just to try and seal it up a little bit better. Just like that. Now the side cover is all ready, and we got to get the block ready now. So then I'm just gonna lightly touch this surface to the belt sander to try and just get a new finish, clean surface on there that's nice and flat, and it'll just bump up the compression the slightest bit. I'm not gonna worry about cleaning the outside of this engine block. It's filthy, and it's gonna get filthy right away again. So that is all I'm gonna do. Now I'm gonna just start reassembling. Have it all nice and clean in there. So I have this 10W30 motor oil in here. And here are the bearings. Just gonna lube them up. You're not supposed to press down in the center of these bearings. You're supposed to press them in the outsides. This is not really working. I can't get it, like springs back out, and it just doesn't stay aligned in there. This is the first time I've ever done this, so I'm learning. Well, I don't know. I can't get them any better than that, so just try tightening on here with some plastic gauge. Okay, I have my plastic gauge in there. Oil up my rod bolts. Setting this to 60 inch-pounds. Then increase it by 20, so going up to 80 inch-pounds. 100 inch-pounds. Okay. So I don't know if you guys can see that little green thing right there. That's my plastic gauge. Now I have to See if it's within spec. Okay, so my plastic gauge is what is it? 0.003 is the clearance, and that is within the range that it needs to be. At first I was reading the millimeter side. There's one side that reads in millimeters, one side that reads in inches. So yeah, I was kind of confused there for a minute, but then I realized. So we're good here. Now I can install the wrist pin and piston into the block and get these two, connected. So other than your rod bearing, the next biggest thing for getting the measurements right is the ring gap. So I'm just gonna fit this in here. Flatten it out with, push it in there straight with the piston. And then, if you guys can see that gap there, there is just enough to stick your fingernail in. I mean, you can use a filler gauge if you want, but I know that'll work just fine, that right there. Not too big a gap, not too small of a gap. Maybe just a little bit on the small side, but that'll work. And then the other ring, push it in there straight. That gap's even tighter. Boy, that's not a big gap at all. I don't like that. Filler gauge, see what it is. I'll try a 8 thousandths first, see if that fits in there. The 8 thousandths fits pretty loosely, so we'll just go straight up to 11 thousandths. Fits in there just about perfect, snug. Yeah, I'm gonna run that gap. That's like a 14 thousandths gap. That'll be good enough for me. We're only building a racing engine here. That's not going racing. Not on a track or drag strip anyway. Just down the street. So now we're gonna install the rings on the piston. I'll install the waffle ring first, then each of the oil rings. So this is my first time using a ring installer. Just bought it, never used one before. Looks like it's not going to work with the oil rings. They just slide right through, so we'll install these by hand, not a big deal. Now for the two oil rings, I think you're supposed to line up the gaps, or either that or it just doesn't matter at all. But both the thicker rings, they have to be clocked 120 degrees apart. I'm not going to line up the gaps for the oil rings. I'm going to have them 100 and... No, I'm going to line up the oil ring gaps. Okay, so you want the one without the shiny edge around it. The shiny edge one is the top ring. And there's a letter on both these rings, and that's the side that has to go up. Gap there. Gap there. and the oil ring gap is right there. So clocked about 120 degrees apart. Then the arrow goes down or towards the dipper side of the connecting rod. So now I'm going to install one of the wrist pin clips in one side.
I'm changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and I won't look back ever again.
Now I'm lubing up the wrist pin.
You ain't see me activated. You better
Drop that in
you
my
never see me
oil.
agitated. I think about my actions,
Lube that all up.
that's how I end up on the top.
You don't want this to be dry when you first start it.
My body is the engine. I'm never second guessing.
So the longer end of the connecting rod, so the what is facing up right now, is matched with the arrow on the piston. So now I can take this
Do what I was destined, 'cause I feel I got the blessing. Persistence and obsession, that's how you keep progressing. I already learned that lesson, yeah. I'm changing who I am. I'm making a new plan, rearranging my life, and
slide your wrist pin in. Install the other
you can't stop what's moving.
clip
You can't stop what's
without letting it spring halfway across your shot. There we go. There's no play with that wrist pin and the connecting rod, and both the clips are in. I didn't move my gaps on my rings. I'll lube up my crank and where it goes into the bearings. Gonna install that. Now I also have bought a piston ring compressor. First time using one of these ever. Usually I just do it the hard way. Oil this up, the compressor, piston ring compressor. Just makes it slide easier.
Stop what's moving. I'm changing my life, and I won't look back ever again.
I am doing 200 inch-pounds. On this side cover. Side cover's installed. I'll reinstall my old dipstick on this side, and then one of the parts that I got for today's episode is a billet aluminum dipstick with a magnet on the end. So that'll get covered up by the torque converter, so you won't be able to see that one. Alright, coming together. Now it's time to install the sweet new head studs. I'm just going to finger tighten all of these in here first. So after just a little bit of research, I think I've come up with that the studs themselves get 60 or 70, somewhere in there, inch-pounds, and then 200 inch-pounds for the nuts when the head is on. There we go. Now that I got those dowels installed, then I can install this thin head gasket. And finally, the head. Which went on easier than I was expecting. Sweet. All right. Now I'm gonna torque the studs, the head nuts, into for 200 inch-pounds. Guys, don't do what I do. This is the second time I've had this head off. First time I realized I put the head gasket on backwards. And then the second time I realized I forgot to put the valves in. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm gonna install the valves. I have the intake valve in. This is a 26-pound spring, so we're upgrading from 22s to 26s. And then I have these billet retainers so that you can, I don't know, I think it's just a better design over your traditional retainer. Then I'm also going to be running lash caps on both valves. Okay, now let's put the head on for a final time. Hopefully, last time. Okay, so this used to have 1.3 ratio rockers on it, but we ran into coil bind. As you can see, these ends are the push-out ends of the rockers, and these ends are the valve ends, and it flattened that. So that's junk. So I have new ones here, and I'm just hoping that the lash caps, the retainers, the springs, I'm just hoping it's going to be better this way than it was with the previous setup. So I don't know how well you guys can see this, but the rocker is slanted like this, and it really should be slanted like this instead of like this. You see that? It's slanted like this, but it should really be like this. So I'm gonna have to shorten the push rods, and I have some cut to length push rods right here, so that's not a problem, because then shortening those push rods should also in theory help with coil bind or compressing the valve spring all the way, because that's bad, and that's what caused that problem with the old rockers. So I'm gonna have to cut some shorter push rods. So I have one end hammered into the push rod, and I think I got my measurement where I want it. Now I'm just gonna spin it with this pipe cutter and hopefully not wreck the blade with this hard chromoly. So I have the frame all ready for the engine now. What I did was I welded that bar on there for foot pegs, because the old ones that I made in the previous mini bike video used to be like that, and then bolt on with the engine mounts right there and there, through there. But yeah, as you can see, it's bent. It's not heavy enough metal. So I decided to just weld that on there. And that should be a lot thicker metal, hold my weight a lot better.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yeah, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave.
So, as you guys can see, the mini bike is all put together. I even have gas in it, and I'm ready to start it up for the first time with this billet rod and everything else I put on it. So let's see if it'll fire up. We shared a flywheel key. Yeah, I was driving it around the yard. I actually drove it for about 30 seconds is all. 30 seconds and it shut off. I got it started once, and then after that, I couldn't get it started, and it had insane kickback when trying to pull it over. And I did some research, and everything was leading to flywheel key, and sure enough. And this sucker was on there. I could not get it off. Pry bar, hammer, everything. Ended up wrecking the threads on my crankshaft, even with the nut screwed on there. So, yeah, it's not a good situation. I'm gonna try putting a stock flywheel key, because I think those, in theory, should be stronger, since they don't have 6-degree timing advance, so that's a 6-degree notch in the key, making it that much weaker. So a solid key should do a better job. Then I'm just gonna cross thread the nut on there. I know it's not the right thing to do. The right thing would be buy a new crankshaft. But I want to drive this today, so we'll put a new key in and we'll try and torque the flywheel down again. So I've driven it a little bit. It's running pretty good. I don't know. I can't tell if it's the clutch or if it's the actual engine, but I feel like I notice a little bit of a knock or a ticking noise. But the clutch has that much play in the keyway. So I'm hoping it's just that and not any of the internals of the engine. And usually, like, this cam's been ran before in this engine, so it's not like I'm breaking in the cam, but I'm just gonna do another oil change. I drove it for 10 minutes probably. I'll probably drive it, start it up one more time once it's cooled off, get 2 heat cycles or 3 heat cycles in it. I'll change the oil just to be safe. And then I also realized that my kill switch isn't working. So either I don't have good ground or something happened there. So I had a little bit of an oil leak. It wasn't that bad. That came out of the dipstick because that side is to the dipstick. This side's not because it's a little bit on a angle or whatever. You know what I mean. So it ran out. The oil ran out of that side, but it doesn't run out of this side. So that's what level I filled it to. And so when I took that drain plug out, that dipstick out, it leaked a little bit, but so it wasn't that bad. But there was a slight leak, so I replaced the crank seal. And now I'm ready to put the torque converter back on. And what came in the mail just now, you'll never believe it, a brand new Juggernaut from Go Power Sports. So I'll be installing that. Maybe that'll get rid of that play that the clutch had. And then I'm not going to throw this away. This is going to go on the 3-wheeler. So the mini bike gets the fresh clutch. So guys, we're going to be doing a top speed test now. On the way here, I saw about 5,100 RPMs. So that wasn't quite full throttle yet either. Hopefully I see 7,500 RPM. That'd be pretty nice. The goal is 55 miles an hour right now. So from the 5,700 RPM that I saw, I'm not happy with that at all. So I'm checking the jetting. I put a new plug in after that and drove it a little bit again, pretty much open, and then I shut it off while pretty much holding it wide open so that I get the airfill reading of the high RPM, not the idle. And it's pretty lean, so I will put a bigger main jet in there. This bike had a 120 jet in it, so I just put a 125 in, and I'm gonna see once if it's any better or not. The spark plug is still a bit on the lean side, so I think I'm going to put a 130 jet in there, see if that'll make a difference, and then probably put some tape over the battery cover on my tachometer so that doesn't come off again. So I got the 130 main jet installed. Now we're going to take it for another run. Well, that was my best run yet. I got 45.7 miles an hour. Then I turned around to come back, and I got a bunch of belt slippage. I was turning a lot higher RPM and going less miles per hour. I just assumed it was the rain because we were just starting to get a little sprinkle out there. Everything was getting a little bit wet. So I brought it in the shed. I drove it in the shed, and now I'm looking down. My dipstick is gone. Really, really bad. That means I drove this thing 3/4 of a mile without a dipstick in it, so all the oil came out. So then that dipstick and the oil with the clutch, you know, oil and belts don't go together. That was that magnetic dipstick too, with the billet aluminum one with the magnet on the end. So I washed the mini bike with hot water to get most of the oil off. Then I took the clutch off and brake cleaned the inside, get all the oil and rubber off there. And then I took the torch and kind of burnt the belt, burn all that oil off there. So now I could call that a fresh belt. So now I'm gonna take the drain plug out, see if there's any oil left in this motor. Hopefully there is. And then we'll add new oil. There's nothing in there. There's not a drop of oil coming out of that. Make sure you tighten your dipsticks and drain plugs on all your engines good so they don't come out when you're turning 5,700 RPM and making lots of engine vibrations. So the time to beat is 1:12.97. I think we can beat that. I know the mini bike can beat that. I just don't know if the driver can beat that, because that's pretty fast for two wheels around that track. Yeah, let's do a hot lap.
On 1, 3, 2, 1.
Well guys, I think that's it for the mini bike. I don't know if the camera got my crash or not, but I going too fast and the bike slid out. And now I'm pretty sure I sheared a flywheel key for the second time in this video, because it kicks back pretty bad. So this is the mini bike's time, 1:02.95. And that was his previous time, so I beat it by a full 10 seconds pretty much. If you round up, that's what the change was there. And then we also did Isaac's Polaris Outlaw, and that got a 53.94. So that is the fastest thing on the board. But that is a huge upgrade. Huge. And we really didn't change that much for horsepower wise. Like a flat top piston and not really a whole lot more. So that is some really good numbers there.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single